UFC is filled with so many amazing champions already, and I'm sure there's going to be some new champions in 2023. But today, I'm going to be going through some guys that will not be champions in 2023. In fact, I don't know when these guys are going to be champion, but I've decided that I'm going to be picking out every division's unranked champion. So a fighter that is unranked that I think has a very good chance to become UFC champion in the future. Now, a lot of these, it's just their youth and their skill set for where they are already in their career, maybe their record. And some of them I've picked more specifically for the champions and the people at the top of their division. So let me know what you think down below. Make sure you subscribe as well for more videos every single week. And drop a like, boys. By the way, thank you so much for 500 subscribers, bro. I really appreciate that shit. Alright, anyways, moving on. I'm going to start in the women's division. So people were mad at me that I didn't do women's divisions in some of my other videos. So I'm sorry, alright? Starting off, women's strawweight division. We got YAZMIN Haragui, I think, or Yaragui or something like that. She's really, really good, bro. Her last fight was amazing. Beautiful, beautiful knockout at UFC Orlando. She's a very young fighter. And I just remember on the commentary, they were saying, like, some high-level coaches were saying, like, she's the real deal. Like, trust me, bro. She's an elite-level fighter. And I believe that stuff. I don't really believe, like, a lot of these analysts or whatever, or, like, fans kind of pick their people by popularity. But when coaches all around the gyms, like the sphere of MMA in the different gyms are saying someone's an elite prospect, I believe them. So I think this girl has a beautiful future in the UFC, and I'm very, very excited to see where she goes. So I'm gonna say she's my pick for the strawweight division's future champion. We move on to the women's flyweight division. Juliana Killer Miller. All right, now I know this one is a bit iffy. Okay, there's probably some better people at flyweight right now, but my point is she's young as hell. Okay, she's coming off tough. She's got a cool personality. She's a grappler, which is going to do really well at women's flyweight, excuse me. She's a grappler, right? You know what I'm saying? Molly McCann just got fucking whooped. Okay, so, you know, you clearly have to be a grappler to get a push in these divisions and end up at the top. Okay, and I think with enough development time, when she learns to strike, like her name isn't Juliana. Okay, remember, love, your last name isn't Pena. You don't have to strike like her, okay? Her striking is... She's got a lot of work to do, okay? But her grappling is really good. She's very aggressive. I really like to see that in the UFC, so I think she has a bright future, and I could definitely see her getting a push up the rankings, especially as a grappler. I think she could do well against some of the strikers of the division. I'd be interested to see her against like a Miranda Mavericks of the division and like even Macy Barber type fighters in this division. But right now, because she's so young, she's so untested, I'm going to say she's probably my pick right now. Okay, we're going to move on to women's bantamweight. Sorry, by the way, there's no women's featherweight. I know all the women's featherweight fans in the comments are going to be really sad about that because I know everybody loves women's featherweight, me included. It's my favorite division, you know. The rankings are just chock full of contenders, you know. So, anyways, moving on. Women's bantamweight. Tamiris Vidal. One loss. She's young, okay? And my point is, like, I picked her more because she's really young. And because she's on a 6-fight win streak, okay? Not necessarily a finisher, but she seems like she knows how to win, and she's young, again. So I'm sure by the time that she gets to the higher fights and the top of the rankings, there'll be different fighters up there. And, you know, you got to pick youth sometimes. I'm not super confident in this chick. I mean, her nickname is Tractor. Like, it's not really that cool of a name. You know what I mean? It doesn't strike fear into your heart. You know what I mean? But anyways, okay, we're going to move on to the men's flyweight division. I'm going to pick TATSURO TAIRA, undefeated. 7 first-round finishes, okay? 9 finishes with 12 wins. He's a very, very exciting prospect, and I can definitely see him making his way up the UFC rankings, especially with submissions in his back pocket as a grappler. You've seen guys like Alejandro Pantoja, Brandon Royval really jump up the rankings really quickly with their grappling and their submissions. And this kid seems like he has something special, so... And not the Raul Rosas Jr. type of special, either. Okay, not the he just seems like a really talented guy, and his style I think would definitely suit him well. Moving up the rankings, you're seeing right now Muhammad Makayev, Amir Albazi, Brandon Royval, all these guys are rising up the rankings really quickly because they're submission threats. So, and even Pantoja, like I said, even Figueiredo has that in his back pocket. So, I can definitely see him beating Tim Elliott to get into those rankings and then taking off from there. So my pick is TATSURO TAIRA for the flyweight division as a future champion. We move on to the bantamweight. Now it's getting good. Bantamweight division. JAVID BASHARAT. This dude is a bobblehead. I understand that, but his skills are crazy, bro. He's already had 2 great fights in the UFC in the bantamweight division. He's a very diverse fighter, okay? Like I said, undefeated as well. Young guy. I know that he's a bobblehead. I understand that, but he's a really good fighter. His Contender Series fight was amazing, so I definitely think Basharat has a good future at bantamweight, especially with his submission ability. Again, a lot of these grapplers, man, that's the kind of like the base that you want. So I'm gonna pick JAVID Basharat as my future champion at bantamweight. We move on to the featherweight division. Nathaniel, the prospect Wood. Okay. I know I picked this guy as my riser in my rising and falling video of 2023, but I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna say he has a decent chance of ending up in the rankings and rising up in the division. And he's a young-ish kind of guy, but he's really settled into his game, is more what I think. So I think he's able to go on a streak, which will do really well for him. So I'm gonna pick Nathaniel Wood as my future champion. His name's the prospect. Okay, it's time for him to stop being a prospect. It's time for him to start being a contender. And I think he has all the skills to do it. Like I said, he's kind of finding his game. So he's less one where I'm like, he's young, he has time, you know what I'm saying? Nathaniel Wood, my pick. He's found his game. I think he can go on a streak and end up as a future champion. Now, I don't know. With Volkanovski at the top, I'm not going to say he would be, but you know what I'm saying? In the future. Do I think every single person on this list will become UFC champion? Obviously not. But I would say if I had to pick someone unranked that I can think of right now, this is my pick. Okay, so we're going to move on to the lightweight division. I can't pick myself, so I'm picking Joe Solecki, okay? Hear me out, alright? Joe Solecki, in the UFC, doesn't really have any crazy wins right now. He's not a guy up there that's like Joel Alvarez or like Moicano or Drew Dober or something like that. That's like a name that's like coming up, you know what I'm saying? But I'm going to say Joe Solecki's grappling is very underrated. He kind of reminds me of Andre Petroski. So Petroski, outside the UFC, he's having these grappling matches. He's winning really impressively. And then in the UFC, he's slowly building his way up. And I would say Joe Solecki is on a similar path. He's tapped out Donald Cerrone in competition. You know what I mean? He's a very good grappler, a very high-level jiu-jitsu guy. You can see that. 7 wins by submission, 1 knockout. Good record, and he's a youngish guy. So I'm going to say his grappling is very, very elite. And I think it will come to shine more and more in the UFC as he progresses as well. So I think Joe Solecki is a sleeper kind of pick. I know there's definitely guys that people would definitely pick above him at lightweight. I understand that, me included. I'm one of the people that they would pick above him. But right now, I'm going to say Joe Solecki is an underrated lightweight. And I think he has a decent chance with his style. You know what I mean? He's a youngish guy, so I'm interested to see where he ends up in the future. So I'm going to put him on this list. Okay, we're going to move on to some more very like concrete ones that I think have a very good chance of happening. Okay, welterweight. I was going to pick Ian Gary. Okay, I was going to pick Ian Gary. I want you to know that, all right? But, I said, fuck it. And I picked Michael Morales, all right? Michael Morales, undefeated, 11 knockouts, 7 first-round finishes, bro. Okay, this guy is something special, bro. His game is just so composed. His striking is powerful as hell. He needs to... Probably not his strongest area is his striking, but his grappling, his takedown defense, his wrestling is amazing. So, I think his record, his youth, his skill set is improving. And he is a very, very patient, very high IQ fighter. He has good counterpunching abilities. So I think Michael Morales has all the tools to become a champion in the future, especially as he gets better. Not much explanation needed. I can see putting Ian Gary in this list. I thought about it, but I'm going to pick Michael Morales. Even though Ian Gary has a really good team and he's getting better with every fight. I just think because Michael Morales is a grappler, he has a better chance. But we'll have to see. All right, moving on. Middleweight. Sure as fucking shit, I'm going to pick Bo Nickel, dude. I think Bo Nickel has a good chance against, like, Adesanya Pereira right now, bro. Am I fucking crazy, bro? Like, this dude, just the skill set that he has, the way he fights, I just feel like he has all the tools to end up as a middleweight champion. And clearly, Alex Pereira has shown you don't need that many fights to get to the belt. So, I'm going to pick Bo Nickel. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people when he comes to the UFC. I don't know, though. I feel like people are kind of behind him. So, maybe it's not that surprising of a pick, but I'm pretty set on this pick. I'm pretty like confident in this prediction. I think out of all the guys so far, I would say TAIRA and Bo Nickel and probably YAZMIN JULIANA, probably my best chances so far. Michael Morales is a decent chance. Joe Solecki, I'm not as confident in. JAVID BASHARAT, it's so hard to tell at bantamweight. But Bo Nickel, dude, I'm almost like tempted to like take this to the bank. That's how confident I am in this pick. So pretty easy to explain. I think you can understand why the division that he's in, the skill set that he has, the push that he's going to get in the UFC. So I think Bo Nickel has a decent chance to end up as a UFC champion in the not so distant future. Okay, now we're moving on to light heavyweight. I'm going to pick Carlos Ulberg, all right? His skill set is incredible. His striking is coming along even better for the UFC. I think at first he was like a kickboxer in an MMA fight, but now he's like coming along really well with his timing, his striking. He looked so good against I'm not even gonna try and say. I ain't even gonna try, bro. I'm not gonna lie. But you know, Carlos Ulberg, bro, he's coming along well. He's got a good team behind him. At I almost said AKA CKB. Uh, you know, he's got a decent team behind him at CKB. His takedown defense is going to be good. His grappling is going to be like up to par for the middleweight division. I mean light heavyweight division. Sorry. You know, and his striking is really good, and his power is really good, and his timing is going to help him a lot. So I'm going to pick Carlos Ulberg as a future light heavyweight champion because he's in a pretty shallow division. Okay, I could see him doing well against like a Khalil Roundtree, even like a Kutalaba, you know, all these guys that are like close to the rankings or just at the bottom of the rankings. And then I could see him doing well against some higher ranked guys who aren't necessarily good strikers, and his counter punching and his power could give him a chance against really anybody at light heavyweight, you know. So I think he would struggle with guys like Jan Blachowicz and Rakic, and Ankalaev obviously. But outside of that, you know, maybe Glover Teixeira as well. But otherwise, you know. But yeah, Carlos Ulberg is my pick. Last one, heavyweight. Waldo Cortez Acosta is my pick for heavyweight, okay? Now, I know he's only had 2 fights in the UFC, but he beat Chase Sherman. He beat the GOAT, Jared Vanderaa, so I think he's undefeated. He's a youngish kind of guy. He's got a good record. And, you know, at heavyweight, it's really easy to make it happen and end up in the rankings quite quickly. You know, Rosenstruck ended up fighting Ngannou in, like, what, 4 fights? I'm pretty sure in the UFC, like 4 or 5 fights. He was, like, main eventing in his 3rd fight. So heavyweight is so shallow that I feel like really anyone outside the rankings that's young and has good, like decent skills can go on a streak and end up in championship conversation or like title elimination conversation. So I feel like heavyweight's very easy to kind of pick anyone and go, look, I think this guy has a good style to end up at the top. So I'm going to pick Cortez Acosta. He's a young guy. He has the most time really to do it. So these are my picks for unranked fighters who should become, not who should become, you know, it's not up to me, unfortunately. If the UFC was up to me, it'd be much better company. Stay tuned, by the way. I'm going to do a video about that shit. But listen, this is my picks. Who I think is going to become UFC champion that's unranked. Let me know down below what you think. Who do you pick? Who do you think? Like, who do you see outside the rankings that could be champion? And what do you think of my picks? You know, let me know down below, boys. See you.